Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and today I'm going to be reviewing King Hu's 1993 Painted Skin. This is King Hu's last movie. It's one that I've been meaning to review for a while, and so I finally tracked down a copy, and I just watched it, and now I'm going to review it and just sort of give my initial thoughts. This isn't like a complete, fully thought out review. I haven't really had time to digest all of my feelings on the movie, and especially with King Hu, I find he's the kind of filmmaker you almost need to see his movies twice, sometimes three times before you really decide on your final opinion on them. I find it just, or you at least need a day to sort of unravel it. But in this case, I kind of just want to give my initial thoughts. I'm sort of trying to do that on this video blog, so I thought I'd do it with this movie. It stars Joey Wong, Adam Chang, Wu Ma, and Sammo Hung. It's a little tough to get. I ordered this one maybe, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe a little longer than that, and I got it for about $30 new, I believe. I think this is a new copy. Um, but I just went on Amazon and I noticed that to get it new is like $100, and now the used copies are all $30. So I don't know if that's temporary or if that's like this movie is like not going to be available for a while again. Um, so I don't know. I don't like to review movies that are hard for people to get because I don't see the point in me reviewing a film that people aren't going to be able to see. So unless it's like a really important movie or it's a movie that I'm not really sure if it's going to be coming back or not, I'll generally avoid reviewing movies like that. So in this case, I'm going to review it because I think it's an important enough movie. It's King Hu's last film, and I don't know the status of it. I don't know if it's going to be coming, available again for $30 or not. So, and right now you can still get it used. So, if anybody happens to know any news on it, certainly feel free to weigh in the comments. So, as I said, this is more my initial thoughts on the film. It's a lot like Chinese Ghost Story. In fact, Joey Wong plays a very similar character to the character she plays in A Chinese Ghost Story, and Wu Ma plays a very similar character to the one he plays in A Chinese Ghost Story. So it's got a lot of stuff that connects it to that, and it's based on a Pu Song Ling story. So it's kind of got a similar vibe and a similar atmosphere. It's that's based on the same source material as the later Painted Skin movie from 2008 and the sequel from 2011. This I think is maybe a little bit closer to the original story. The story itself is fairly small, so it's not like there's a whole lot to base a film on. So they're naturally going to have to both invent things in order to sustain a movie. But this just felt kind of closer to what I remember the story being about. Um, that said, and I'm not the first person to comment on this. I've seen other people make this point, so this isn't an original point. But one of the striking things about the movie is it starts out kind of like Chinese Ghost Story. You have sort of this scholar and ghost, which again, it's kind of a theme that you see in a lot of these movies, whether it's Madam Snake or Chinese Ghost Story, the sort of the scholar and the supernatural creature, and you think that you're maybe in for a love story, but in fact, it just becomes about the Joey Wong character and her quest to escape her condition as this. And they don't really exactly specify what it is, but they do go a step beyond the Painted Skin story. But she's some kind of ghost that's in between living and dead, between the world of man, between the world of the gods, and between yin and yang. And so that's sort of the whole concept. She's trying to get back into the cycle of rebirth. And the basic premise is she's part of some kind of group led by a guy named King of Yin and Yang, and all of his people are like that. I think they don't have physical bodies, so in order for them to take form in the world, they have to wear human skin. So that's why she's got the painted skin. But it's a little bit unclear if she's different than them in any way. If he, so I was trying to figure out sort of the rules of the world King Hu was building. But maybe on the next viewing I'll kind of get that down. But I liked that premise and I liked the group, and as I was watching it, of course I was thinking, ooh, this organization is very gameable. I can bring this something like this into a game very easy. So I liked the way that the King of Yin and Yang was dealt with. I liked that they focused more on the Joey Wong character and how she kind of connects with these Taoist priests who, eventually, kind of go with her to help her, reach basically reach back into the cycle of rebirth. And at the end of the movie, it all ties in nicely and is sort of like a nice circle. But but that said, I wasn't, some parts of the movie I thought could have been better. Um, and it's not. I don't think this is going to be my favorite King Hu movie. It's a good movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think if you're if you're trying to compare it to like A Touch of Zen or Dragon Gate or The Fate of Lee Khan, it's a little bit. Um, it doesn't quite feel as strong. But there's a lot of the things about it that I liked. When I was watching it, I kept thinking of really classic horror movies like Nosferatu and Phantom of the Opera and the old Universal horror movies. I don't know why, something about the way people were acting, the way scenes were edited, and the way the atmosphere was built up just kind of reminded me of those. And I watched a lot of those horror movies growing up as a kid, and it was just, to me, I felt like he was maybe going more for that style than the kind of style that a film like Chinese Ghost Story had. So I was intrigued by that. And I think the only thing that I felt was a little disappointing was I thought maybe it would be interesting if it kind of kept building up towards an almost Dracula like scenario, but it didn't. Which, again, I did like the direction it went, but initially I was like, oh, this looks like it might go in sort of a really atmospheric, almost gothic direction, and I was very intrigued by it, and I liked how like King Hu's kind of good at all these little touches he does on the set, and in this one in particular, you could see like the individual books on the shelf, and it just, the scenery felt very real to me, and I really enjoyed that. There was something about like when the scholar went into his room and he was talking about his books, I felt like it was a real bookshelf with real books, and I almost felt like it could, like the way the sound worked, the way everything was like the way, like when they would pick something up, you'd hear the sound. I almost felt it in my hand, so I really liked that. There was a little bit of humor sprinkled throughout the movie, which I liked. The scholar character was treated, kind of as a goofball in a way. He was sort of, at first you think he's going to be this noble scholar character, and he is not. And so, the situation with him, his wife, and the Joey Wong character, again, they, the initially what it looks like is going to happen is this scholar is, he's smitten with the Joey Wong character. So because his wife hasn't given him a son yet, he kind of talks her into allowing him to take her on as a concubine, strictly so he can have a son. And the whole setup is kind of humorous and funny, but then that sort of quickly dissolves into fear and terror as they realize, that she's not a natural human being, that she's some kind of ghost or demon. And then they get enveloped in the in her dilemma as she's running away from this king of yin and yang. And the basic storyline is she fled from King and Yang's group, and now she's trying to find her way to escape her condition. And the king of yin and yang and his men all take human form and chase her. So it's a really straightforward plot. I tend to like really straightforward plots. And I think on second viewing I might like this movie more, but it just, I don't know, it just wasn't as thrilling for me as some of the earlier King Hu stuff I've seen. But it wasn't bad. It was not a bad movie, and it's certainly one that I think, just because it's his last film and it is a King Hu movie, so it has the sort of the gorgeous framing and really great use of color. That it's worth checking out. And I suspect my opinion of this film might change over time. So again, it's I just don't want to like, gush over the movie, because I don't, again, it's like $100 new, so I don't want people tracking this down thinking it's going to be, on the same level as Dragon Gate or something. I think this is a movie some people might like a lot, and some people will be very disappointed by, and some people might have sort of my reaction. So, and I think also part of it is, I did notice when I was watching this that the film quality itself doesn't look like it's held up very well over time. So I think it's not well preserved, and that might have affected my impression of the movie. Um, it's you know, it, I don't know if this would have looked better if I had seen it in like a more restored version or something. So yeah. So again, it's Painted Skin, 1993. It's very difficult to get. So you might want to go and check out some other reviews of it before you buy it. And I'm a little bit in the middle on it. I think it was a good movie. I don't think it was the best King Hu movie I've seen. There were moments in this movie that I really appreciated and really liked, and there were some very striking scenes in the film, very striking shots. I particularly liked the beginning. I also liked the very ending, um, and and I even I think I liked the middle part, but the middle part was more like a quest, and so I think I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to go in a different direction, so maybe that's what was throwing me. But also, like I said, I did like that they focused on the Joey Wong character. I thought that was interesting. It's just that maybe it might be that the relationship between her and the priests didn't produce as much interesting dialogue as if they had some other characters that were there. I think the focus on her and the priests might have been part of why it just didn't quite rise to the same level for me. But again, very early thoughts on this movie. I'll see if I still have these opinions the next time I watch it. And so again, I'll talk to you guys later.